What's up, everybody? I'm Jim with Straight Blast Pythons, and welcome to the channel. Obviously, I'm not in front of my snake rack today, and you might be wondering why I'm in what looks like a construction zone. My family's made the move from Hampton Roads, Virginia, up here to Illinois, and this is the basement of our new house that we're renovating for the future of our reptile businesses. Where I'm standing right now is actually going to be the future of my wife's side of the business, Garden of Gardens and Geckos. Straight Blast Pythons is actually going to be over there. We'll get into building out these reptile rooms in a different video. That is not the topic today, but it kind of goes together because today we're going to talk about the actual future of Straight Blast Pythons, what the plan is, and how we're going to get there. Really, we're talking about collection restructuring. Let's just get into this. So like a whole lot of people getting involved in breeding, in the beginning, I didn't have a very good direction. I was all over the place. I've talked about this in past videos, but I was originally planning on just doing a 1 to 3 group of pieds, 1 to 3 group of clowns, ultramel, axanthic, really everything just looked interesting to me, and I was kind of all over the place. I realized that was a problem about a year ago. I started thinking, hey, I need to change things, and I came to the decision that I like clown, I like genetic stripe, so obviously the G-Stripe Clown project is a good focal point. That plan is culminating in what I'm going to talk about here today, in how I'm restructuring the collection to really push forward to the future. There's no secret the future is double recessive, so G-Stripe Clown going to continue to be the focus, but I don't want to stop there. If you chase what's happening right now, you'll always be behind, and right now G-Stripe Clown is getting popular. It's going to be over the next few years, and I'm going to pursue that. But I don't want to just stay there. I talked about in one of my past videos how I want to do the true ghost G-Stripe Clown in the long run. And that hasn't changed, but the way I'm going to go about that really has. I got about 2-3 weeks left before I'm no longer in the military, and I'm going to be civilian again, and my goal is to go to school full-time and breed snakes. So how am I going to make that happen? Not breeding low-end G-Stripes and clowns, that's for sure. Even the double heads, that's not an income. So I was doing lots of thinking, lots of research, and a while back I stumbled onto the whole Breeder 123 series from Bill 8 Mutation Creation, and this is not in any way an advertisement for him or his Patreon or anything like that, but I did learn a lot through it. And my original plan on how I was going to get to this true ghost G-Stripe Clown was to pursue Axanthic Clown, Hypo G-Stripe, and then eventually merge them together. And I started looking at numbers, the odds, how many animals overall I would need to make that, and the timeline. That's a project that's going to take 15 years if I'm lucky, if everything comes out perfectly, and that's just, it's not the type of growth that I want for Straight Blast Pythons. I want to get more serious. Looking at those numbers, I realized that I need to really hone in on things if I want to get to any serious level in this industry, and so that's what we're going to do here. There are a lot of ways to restructure a collection. This is not what this video is going to be about. I've seen people make a few minute changes and make a huge difference, which is what I'm going to try to do, and I've seen people that have liquidated 2/3 to 90% of their collection and started from scratch. I'm just going to tell you how I'm going to do it and kind of give you an idea here. So the way that I intend to go about this is to try to dig a base into a triple recessive before I try to shoot for quads. So that means I needed to make a decision. Do I want to pursue the Axanthic Clown and Axanthic G-Stripe, or do I want to pursue the Hypo Clown and Hypo G-Stripe? I made the decision moving forward that we're going to pursue the Hypo route. So in January this year, I picked up a small collection. It had an Axanthic Clown and some Axanthic Het Clown stuff in it, and I've actually sold that male and a couple of females with it to Greg and TJ over at Rippin' Reptiles. They were local to us when we were in Hampton Roads, really good people. I was glad to help them get into a project that they were looking forward to get into, and with that, I used those funds to purchase into the Hypo Clown project, and some of it went to, honestly, starting construction down here, but more importantly, I picked up a banana black pastel Hypo Clown male. This is honestly the only real major change that I'm making with the collection that's going to cause a complete restructuring. And I say that because earlier this year at the NARBC in Tinley, I picked up a double visual Hypo G-Stripe. I already have a relatively strong, maybe not strong, but large base of het and visual clown females that I can push to start making visual clown het hypos. And I've got a smaller base on the G stripe. So doing this change, getting out of the Xanthic clown and into the hypo clown, is going to allow me to push that hypo G stripe and that hypo clown projects parallel to each other. And eventually, once I start having visuals, merging hypo clowns, hypo G stripes, getting all hypo double hets, which is going to push the project further a lot faster. I'm going to probably cut off an easy 5 or 6 years in the overall project, because once I get those hypo double hets, or even those double visuals het for the other, I can then start introducing the Xanthic later on and speed that process up, instead of running the two projects parallel and then moving right back into a quad het situation again. I just kind of feel this is the more intelligent way to go about it. I would like to hear more opinions. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm thinking about this in a dumb way, or maybe a less efficient way than I could be. But the goal is really to get to that endpoint ultimately of the Xanthic hypo G-stripe clown, or the true ghost clown, whatever you want to call it. Completely gotten out of the Xanthic stuff. I do have some het Xanthic stuff still in the collection. It's just not taking the focus. I want to build that base in the hypo clown and the hypo G-stripe to make that really powerful before I start adding the Xanthic back into it. It's going to allow me to think almost as if this is a much simpler approach. If you remember back in the video that I made about building a collection on a budget, and how I talked about having two different projects that were complementary to each other, so that way you can pair these females to this male and these females to this male, and the next year just swap the males. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here. It's going to allow me to pursue hypo clown and hypo G stripe this year, then swap the males, and now I'm making triple hets the next year. It's going to create a much stronger base in one project than I'd be able to if I had spread my resources thin. I've come to realize with this back here, looking at building new reptile rooms, that space is going to be key, and it is going to be a lot more limited than I thought it would be once we got moved over here. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of space. Racks take space. Hatchling racks take space. Working area, it's limited. And as I said in the past video, and the other part that I'm going to go into here on restructuring, is my goal is to be a python breeder and not just a ball python breeder. So I'm going to be incorporating more species, and if I dedicate the entirety of the space I have to working two completely separate double recessive projects, moving into a quad recessive project, that would be 3-4 ARS racks worth of girls that I'm going to need, whereas I can do this one in maybe 2. It's just a lot more space efficient, and it's the way that I need to go to push forward. So coming up into the 2024 breeding season, in a few months, I'm going to start pushing a lot of hypo clown, a lot of hypo G stripe, and maybe pursue the Krypton a little bit more. I have a feeling my Krypton boy is going to sit on the back burner for a season, but we'll see. It depends on how many girls are up to size. But outside of ball pythons, I do intend to start getting into other species. The goal with this restructuring is to not just restructure, like I said, on the ball python side. I want to be a python breeder. When I started getting into the snakes and really learning about them more, I found that most of the species that caught my interest were variants of pythons. And that's why I included, in the business name, Straight Blast Pythons, the word pythons, not exotics, not serpents, not anything like that. I knew I wanted to stick with python species. So my first edition here, and if you follow me on Instagram, I've posted some stuff about this a little while ago, but I picked up a 1.2 group of Woma pythons. It's the first species outside of ball pythons that's being added here to Straight Blast pythons, and I'm going to make it the goal over the next couple of years to add 1 to 2 species a year as we expand. Just an idea, I'm looking to possibly over the next year or so look at some white lips. I'd like to get into the Angolans. Long term, I'd probably like to get a couple of blackheads, and the sabu pythons have really caught my attention. I would like to be able to offer anywhere from 3 to 5 different species of python, not just ball python. Before anyone says anything too, I'm not trying to like be one of these people who's like, oh my god, the ball python market's crashing, because I definitely don't think that. Me expanding into other species has nothing to do with like, oh, I think the business needs to have something else to survive, or oh, I think ball pythons are going away. I'm doing it because I legitimately have an interest in these other species, and I want to have more of a varied background as far as a keeper, as far as a breeder. I want that firsthand experience. So it's what I want to do. And you know what, to be honest, I think our community as a whole, and I'm not talking the ball python community, I'm talking the reptile community as a whole, can use a little bit more of some of these less commonly seen species being offered out there. I'd be lying if I said I regularly see womas at shows. I'd be lying if I said I regularly see white lips at shows. Outside of going to like a bigger NARBC, honestly, I pretty much just see ball pythons and crested geckos everywhere. So I would like to offer some variety, and that's where I'm going to take the business. I'll be doing a episode, I guess you can call it an episode, a video talking about the Woma pythons coming up here pretty soon. Also going to be doing some videos about our first 2 clutches. I don't think I mentioned earlier, with part of our move, we were really worried about, we had 2 clutches that were moving in the incubator, and you know, we made it, all the eggs made it, both clutches have hatched, they're on the ground, and as soon as those babies get shed out, I'll be making videos on those 2 clutches, so lots of G-stripe stuff, just, you know, putting that out there. So let me know in the comments what you think. Hypo G-stripe, hypo clown, is that a good path? What do you think about the additional womas? Let's talk some snakes in the comments, and I'll see you next time.